No! The truth is now out. Finally, we're going to hear the other side of the story. The truth of what really happened on that flight. Aviation officer gives his version of United flight passenger removal. All I'm trying to say is this should be great. This is gonna be great. The aviation officer who dragged the physician off the United Airlines flight in Chicago this month is sharing his version of the events in a newly released report. The officer alleges the passenger, Dr. David Dow, was verbally and physically abusive and flailing his arms before he lost balance and struck his mouth on the armrest. Wait a second. You mean to tell me that a 69-year-old man who was afraid for his life was physically abusive? You mean to tell me that a senior citizen was verbally and physically abusive to these kind officers? Well, I can understand how these officers had no choice but to take this man to the curb. I mean, that's not what happened. Apparently, this man took himself to the ground. Well, I fully understand how these officers had no choice but to let this man flail his arms on his own and knock himself out. As far as I'm concerned, that's exactly what went down. Because I know, for one, that if I was grabbed by two people with no explanation as to why I, a 70-year-old man, had to get off of a plane, if I was in that situation, I would have done the exact same thing. So with this conclusive, non-one-sided evidence, we know exactly who is to blame. It's not the officers. No. It's not the doctor. No. It's the armrest. The real criminal in this particular situation. Nobody saw it coming. Dr. Dow didn't see it coming until it was too late. He went $1 Million Baby on this airline to try and make some money. I don't think that's what happened, but that's apparently what happened from the officer's side of things. The incident, which was videotaped by other passengers and wildly shared online, became an international embarrassment for both the airlines and the city aviation department. Understandably so, because according to this, these guys have been blackmailed. The doctor is really the one to blame. If he didn't just knock himself out and try and make all this money. See? More evidence that the doctor is to blame. Not the fact that they overbooked the flight to make more money as a business. It's his fault for sitting where he was. Long said he approached Dow to ask the 69-year-old physician. I'm just glad that they keep on bringing up the fact that he was 69 years old. To make sure that everyone knows this was a goddamn senior citizen that they're taking advantage of. There are seniors right now, you could explain to them exactly what is going on. They could ask you, how was your day? You could tell them and they would forget in seconds. It's not their fault, it just happens with age. So the fact that they didn't even explain to this guy, it goes on to say, where am I? I'm lost, who am I? It says they went on to say to him, get off the plane. So I can only imagine that the situation was something like this. Excuse me, sir, you're gonna have to get off the plane. May I ask you, why do I have to get off the plane? Because we're a bunch of greedy bastards, we overbooked the plane, so because we made a mistake, you have to leave. Well, that makes sense to me. Let me just get off the plane right now. I'm only a doctor who's on his way to go tend to patients, but that's not nearly as important as getting your other flight attendants to wherever they gotta go. Long said he reached out to hold, in quotations, and by hold, they mean beat the shit out of, same thing. I don't know how they got that messed up. Clearly the doctor's overreacting. He meant to hold him, probably give him a hug. Hold Dow, and was able to pull him away from the window seat on the aircraft and move toward the aisle. Nothing wrong there. If you saw the video, he was absolutely a gentleman. See what I mean? Nothing overly aggressive about that. But suddenly the subject started flailing and fighting. Suddenly, out of nowhere. A senior citizen who just got grabbed for no reason started to fight back. Why do you think that is? I just can't think of the reason. So far, this is what I've gotten from his side of the story. Excuse me, sir, we're gonna have to go. Please come with me. No! Excuse me, sir, you're gonna have to calm down. I'm asking you nicely and very non-abusively to just come with me off of the plane. Is that fine? I don't think so! Well, I didn't want to have to ever come to this, but you leave me no choice. Causing the struggling Dow to fall and strike his mouth off the armrest of the other side of the aisle. So the officer was 100% calm, didn't use any force. As a matter of fact, Dow knocked himself out. That makes a lot of sense. He was struggling so hard against someone that was being completely calm that he happened to flail out of control and knock himself on the ground. That makes sense. Let's continue. Long said he wrote the report and gave his version of the events only because he faced losing his job. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. There's the truth right there. Up until he faced losing his job, he couldn't give less of a shit. But now seeing what social media has done to United Airlines, the fact that their stocks have gone down $1.4 billion in the last 2 weeks, and the fact that people just aren't letting this go, this guy decided, hey, maybe you know what? We might actually be wrong. So I'm gonna cover myself and making up a fake story. Let's see what else we got. The video taken by a passenger shows lots of screaming coming from behind the seats, then Dow being dragged by the arms down the aisle of the plane as the other passengers reacted in horror. In a separate report released on Monday, labeled Hospitalized Case Report, the Chicago Police Department said Dow was observed striking his face against the armrest as aviation officers attempted to escort him from the flight. So from this fall that he brought onto himself, he broke his nose, got a concussion, and lost 2 teeth, all on his own. There was nobody else did anything. He did that all to himself. Long said that once off the plane and in the walkway back to the gate, Dow said that he was a diabetic, but then got up off the floor and ran back onto the aircraft. Long alleges Dow, while running back onto the plane, said they'd have to kill him. So as you can see, the doctor didn't really care to stay on the plane that much. Like, they could have picked anybody. The fact that he was willing to die doesn't even show that he cares at all. So I can see why they went to such great lengths to try and keep the situation under control. And unfortunately, Dow, the 70-year-old man, just went wild. It's really all his fault. Shut your mouth, Dick! The report lines up in the comments that United CEO Oscar Munoz, what is that? Made in the aftermath of the incident in which he called Dow belligerent. Munoz later offered more empathetic mea culpa, saying, my culpa? Whose culpa? I don't know. What am I talking about? No one should ever be mistreated this way. The aviation department has also profusely apologized and vowed an investigation. The aviation department also released its use of force policy, which was sent to all officers after the incident. Well, that just makes sense. You're supposed to let them do something wrong first and then you fix it. It's like that old saying, you know, you always wait to get sick to start taking medicine. That's just what they're doing here. It's fact. It's normal to do this. And it says, aviation security personnel should use force only when reasonably necessary. Just like this. 100% reasonable. 100% necessary. To defend a human life, effect an arrest, or control a person. I'm pretty sure they only saw the control a person part and left the reasonably at the gate. Yes, definitely needed 2 people to take down a 70-year-old man. Did I say take down? Sorry. Reasonably control a person. Not the same thing. So let's just see what the people in the comments have to say. I'm sure they're on the side of the officer. Who are you going to believe, the officer or the lying cell phone video? That's 1. Blame the victim. That's 2. I'm a priest. Pull me off the flight I paid for 2 months ago and cover your ears. Seems like a pretty normal thing to do. I wonder how old he is. It was an assault. The video makes that clear. They should be fired and criminally charged. First time in history someone has fell by leaping over 2 adjacent seats and an aisle to hit the arm of a seat on the other aisle. This has not happened without intervention or someone else who is causing the person violence. Verbally and physically abusive, meaning his mouth and nose were bleeding and he was bloody helpless. First making a blunder and then justifying it makes it horrendous. All I'm saying is the list goes on and on and on and on. I think it's actually amazing that first of all, the story's still going on. Like, I've had enough. I'm pretty sure everybody else has had enough. But also the fact that these guys have the audacity to be like, you know what? It's the doctor's fault. But suddenly, he started flailing and panicking. Suddenly, when 2 men grab him and start pulling him forcefully out of his seat. That makes sense. That's literally the equivalent to saying, I was poking a bear and suddenly it attacked me. I don't understand where that came from. I was just trying to poke a bear. What the hell? Ah, people are just too smart. They think we'll just buy anything. But yeah, it's sad. It just is sad. It's sad that this is what it's come to for this particular James Long defending himself in a case that's clearly already lost. The fact that James Long has actually filed what seems to be a false report, not only to cover his ass, but to also try and make this doctor look bad. It wasn't bad enough that video evidence showed exactly what happened, but they're trying to say that that's not what happened. I don't know what to tell you, but what you just saw isn't true. No! But anyways, I could probably ramble on about this and how it's completely crazy that this is even still happening. But I'm gonna start the video right now because this is just mental and I can't keep going with this shit. So if you did like this video, please be sure to like, share it with your friends, get this awareness out so people know what kind of nonsense is still going on right now. And please subscribe if you are new. And until next time, this is Tykytyk and I will see you later. Peace. We need to start hitting women. That's what we need. I don't think. Shut your damn mouth. That's exactly what we need, and that's what we're gonna do. And so that's what they did. So just over the past week,